You're gonna wish you saw all these blades before. Hi, for this cool tool video, I'm gonna focus on different kinds of jeweler's saw blades. So I tend to work with a variety of different materials and have found that I've had to accumulate a variety of different saw blades to cut them and get in there and pierce out some areas. So I'm just gonna share some of them that I've found especially useful. One that most jewelers are familiar with would be the spiral saw blades, and that's kind of used most commonly on waxes, but you can also use it on plastic, which people might not be as familiar with. So this is just a piece of acrylic, and the spiral blade is just a regular saw blade that's been twisted so that the angled teeth spiral around it and cut in any direction. So I do find that it's a little harder to saw a straight line. Honestly, I do use maybe oversized, like number 6 blades or something like that, if I do need to cut more precise lines in plastic or wax. But just to give you an idea of how it goes, so that spiral blade, you set up and just saw just like any other, and it just zooms right through the plastic. And it clears out a larger curve, so it keeps the plastic from remelting and fusing. But works great on that acrylic. A similar saw blade that is for similar purposes but not quite as common are called monotooth blades. So you might not be familiar with those. I do find that it does a slightly better job with acrylics and plastics. It might take a little bit longer because there's not all those teeth cutting through. But again, it's spiraled and removing the plastic from the saw cut so that it's not going to remelt if you start sawing too quickly. But if you do a lot of work with plastics or cutting acrylic for die forming or something like that, these are a really great addition. I learned about them from Susan Kingsley's die forming book. So they're a great addition to your bench tools there. So that's good for plastics or waxes. And then if you're like me and end up using a variety of other materials, something that you might not be familiar with would be crushed industrial diamond coated blades. So there's a lot of different bench tools that use those crushed industrial diamonds as a way of basically abrading through a material. So it doesn't have the angled teeth that saw blades typically have, but it's just that industrial diamond crushed and bonded to a thick wire, and you can use it to just sand through materials. Now you want to use it wet, so it prevents the diamonds from overheating and popping off of the saw blade, and also keeps the material itself from overheating and cracking. So in this case, this is just a ceramic shard, and typically what I'm doing at the bench is you can't saw underwater, so I'll just keep the piece wet and use that diamond blade, and it just abrades its way through. You can use this on pieces that have already been enameled if you kind of made a mistake and need to cut off a section or pierce a section. And you just want to re-moisten the material, clearing away the debris, and keep sawing away there. It's a little bit slower than what you might be used to from the jeweler's saw blades because you're cutting through significantly thicker material. But you would not be able to do this with a regular tooth blade. It would just cause chipping and fracturing and breaking of the material. But you can use this on other materials that you couldn't use those tooth saw blades on. So for example, ceramics, glass, thinner stones. I don't think I would want to do this on a thicker stone, but you certainly could if you needed to. So you get the idea. You can kind of see that that cut starting to go through the ceramic material there. And then one last thing while we're talking about saw blades that I'd like to get into is not really a different kind of saw blade, but just using it in a slightly different way. So let's say you have a longer piece that you want to saw something out in the middle and then curve around like a luminaria or something like that. And so you have your saw blade, you're ready to go, but as you're going to start turning, you're going to be running into the depth of the throat of your saw. So it's a very simple trick that I learned that is just really great, where you could take pliers and just rotate your blade 90 degrees. So you want to remember which way you're going, and you can just turn the bottom. Sometimes it will break, that happens. But if you gently twist it, and then rotate it 90 degrees to one section, you'll be able to saw on an angle. Let me just set that up for you, and you'll see what I mean. All right, so now this is turned to that side. Make sure that it's waxed and use it just like any other saw blade. Get it started. And you can see I'm just sawing away without worrying about the throat of the saw. So you have to be careful. Obviously those blades can break when you're twisting them, but it will get you out of that that jam if you're trying to saw in the middle of a long piece of metal. So hopefully all these different little cool tools and tricks with saw blades will help you depending what you need to do in the studio. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to hit that subscribe button so that you can hear from me when I post future videos. Thanks for stopping by.